Okay, so this next part of Lab 8, Part 9. So as I said, Lab 8 is quite a marathon. What we're going to do is we have a scenario where we're already providing this VPN access to the customer, which is great. That's what we want. But because we're also the customer's internet service provider, the customer is going to want internet access. So there's a few different ways of going about doing that. And the simplest way is the way that we're going to do it in this lab. And that is that you simply configure another virtual interface or logical unit on the customer's end, and do the same on the provider's end. And then we just use that interface to provide connectivity into the internet. So the reason we can quite easily do that is because when you are providing layer 3 VPN services to a customer, you're actually managing the customer's CE. So it's the service provider that is managing the customer's site routing or the interconnectivity for the customer's site. So it's you've already got management access to the customer's equipment. So it's quite a simple matter to go and configure this for the customer. So let's just take a look at that, and we'll pull that out and we'll go over into our configuration here. So we are going to set up this internet access. What we're going to be doing, create another logical unit on the same physical interface, connecting the CE router to the PE. We're going to create a static default route on the CE router that points to the PE router's non-VRF interface as the next hop. That's a pretty standard internet access strategy, just a default route. You will configure the PE router's non-VRF interface as a passive in our IGP, so we're running OSPF. So we will include that new logical interface in our OSPF configuration, and that's going to allow reachability to the CE router from the core network. And just to test that, we'll ping one of the core router's loopback addresses. So one of the P routers will ping one of the loopback addresses just to make sure we've got connectivity which is outside of our VPN. So the first job is we need to create this logical interface. So let's do that. Go into configuration mode. Edit interfaces, and we're going to go down to GE004 and create unit 100, and we're also going to tag that with VLAN 100 as well. So GE004, we want to create unit 100. We're going to tag that with VLAN 100. We're going to put an IPv4 address on it. Oops, family INET. Then address. Just looking at the lab diagram here, I'm configuring, I'm on VMX1, so it's going to be 10.2.10.1. /24. Let's check that. 10.2.10.1. Yep. That's what we want. That's all good. Okay, so we're going to, that was 004. So that was the PE side. We need to go and configure the CE side. So we're going to do GE008. Unit 100. So we're going to create that new logical unit. Oops. VLAN ID 100. And family INET address is 10.2.10.2/24. Alrighty. Now we need to add that new logical interface to our routing instance. So let's go and do that. So that's the GE008 is going to be added into our CE's routing instance. CE1-1 is the one I want. Let's take a look at what's there now. Some static routes. Notice our interfaces. We've got 008.610, and we need to add the 100 logical interface on that. This is a .100. So let's take a look at that. So there we are. We've added the other logical interface in there now. So what we want is a default route in there as well. So let's go and set up our default route for this routing instance. This is for our internet access. Ooh, hang on, set routing options is what I want. Better. Set routing options static. And we are going to have a default route. There it is, next hop. The next hop is the address that we just put on G004, which is the 10.2.10.1. So there's our static route. Let's take a look at that. So interfaces, there's our static route down there. All good. Okay, that's the CE side of it done. We need to go now and we want to set up the PE side. So what we want to do is we've got all of these static routes set up on the CE router, and what our goal here is looking at our lab notes here. We want to create a static route on the PE that's going to encompass all of the static routes on our CE. So it's really kind of an aggregate, like it's a static route. So we put in a single prefix, and the next hop for this is going to be the CE interface address, which is our 100 logical unit. Okay, we're also going to do that same for the loopback address there. So let's go and do that. So you're going to go to routing options. And let's see what we've got there right now. Not much, just a route distinguisher and our autonomous system. So we're going to set a static route. And this is going to be going down to this CE. It is going to be 172.10. And that's going to be, in our case, it's a .0. 10.0.0 /22. Yep, /22. It's going to encompass all of those. 10.0.0 /22. And our next hop is going to be the address that we have just put on GE 004 Unit 100. This is 10.2.10.2. That one there. Let's check that. 10.2.10.2. That's right. Okay. So that's from the PE pointing back to the CE, and we need to also put a route to the loopback address, static route to the loopback address. We'll set that one up. It's probably easier if I just do it like this, actually. And we'll go 192.168.11.1. There we are. Let's take a look at that. My two static routes. So the /22 gives me a block size of 4 in the third octet, which takes in 0 through to 3, which is the block that we have got configured right there. And that is on 10.2.0.2. All right. That's what we want. Alrighty, so what we want to do is we want to now take these static routes and we want to redistribute them into OSPF. So, because we want OSPF to advertise those static routes. So we're going to go into our routing, into our policy options and create that policy. And this policy statement, I'm just going to call it statics. So I'm going to set a policy statement. And statics is what it's called. It's term 10, according to the lab. Oops, GI protocol. Okay. Protocol. Okay, statement term 10. Oh, from. Hello. Very helpful putting the from in there, isn't it? From protocol statics. From protocol static. So we're matching on static, and we are going to accept that. So then accept. So we're going to apply that into OSPF. Let's take a look at what we've got already. There we are. So that's our current OSPF config. And we want to export the two things we need to do here. We need to include our new logical interface as a passive interface in OSPF, and we need to then apply that export policy as well. So let's do that. This is area 0, and we're adding an interface which is GE004 100. So there's the new logical interface, and we want it to be passive. So it's real simple. We just put the passive statement after it, and that's done. quite a simple configuration, and we want to then apply the export policy. Oops, export, and that's statics is the one we want to export. Alrighty, so we'll commit all of that. It's all happy. Alright, so now what we want to do is let's just see if we do have connectivity. So what we're looking for now is connectivity outside of the VPN. So I'm just going to ping a loopback interface here, and the lab's got us pinging 192.168.5.6, which is P6. Let's do that. And yeah, we do have connectivity, so that tells us that we have access outside of the PE into the provider's network, which ultimately then gives us access into the internet, because the provider, of course, is part of the internet. We should be able to ping other routers in the provider's network as well. With that one, maybe that one isn't configured. 5.5. No, I'm not seeing 5.5. Maybe that's the only one that's set up. Oh, there we are. 5.4 is working. It's all good. So 5.1, yeah, that's all good. .2 works. Should have .3 is working as well. Yeah, that works. Yep. So there we are. That's connectivity into the provider's network from a non-VRF interface. Now that one didn't work. That's curious. I don't know why that doesn't work. All right. Anyway, there we are. We have established that we do have connectivity into the provider's core network from our CE, which is outside of the VRF, and that was the last part of quite a marathon lab, which was lab 8. We're not going to do lab 9 GRE tunnel. We're not really interested in, for our purposes, into GRE tunnel integration. So we're not going to do that. So there we are. We're done with that. So we are going to take a break, and we'll just we'll come back and look at what our next topic is going to be. We're going to talk a little bit about multicast. What I also want to do after this is I want to go through the assessment for this subject. So I'm going to introduce multicast, just talk about that a little bit in the context of VPNs. Then I want to go through the assessment for the subject, talk about the assessment, and just kind of explain where we're going there and what we're looking for. So we'll just take a short break.